Hey carnivores, welcome back to the channel. It's me, Bella, the steak and butter gal. I hope you guys are having a beautiful day. Today's guest, I'm sure you guys have seen in the thumbnail, in the title. I don't need to give him an introduction, but I do have to say that I'm very thankful for him because he invited me onto his channel 1 year ago, and that was my first interview, my first ever live stream too, where I got to share my vegan to carnivore story and transformation. So without further ado, let me welcome my special guest, Dr. Ken D. Berry. Hi, Dr. Berry.
Hello, my friends. Good to chat with you again.
You too. So let's get straight to business. I have so many questions that I want to ask you, and I really do want this video to be centered around weight loss, but also other questions that I frequently get asked, and I just don't feel like I'm in the right place to answer them. The first question is, what are the biggest reasons why people are just not losing weight?
Well, if by people, if you mean just the majority of the population who is overweight, morbidly obese, or obese, the reason they're not losing any weight is because they're trying a method that's been proven time and time again, not only by multiple research studies, but by the personal experience of millions, if not tens of millions of people, which is to try to move more and eat less, or to calorie restrict. That's how they're trying to lose weight, because they believe that that's the way you're supposed to do it, because that's what Weight Watchers trick them into believing, or that's what, they saw a news article or on TV or in a magazine, or they saw a YouTube video where they said, hey, dummy, it's all about calories in, calories out. And all you got to do is burn more than you eat and you lose weight. Duh. Well, that hasn't worked so well for the last, Weight Watchers was founded in 1969. And so if calorie restriction worked, Weight Watchers would be out of business, but they're actually signing up more and more people because of all the COVID weight gain. But, it's a great business model, but it's a terrible model for losing weight. Weight Watchers is making millions of dollars with all these new signups. But what's going to happen is all those people are going to try Weight Watchers, maybe for the first time, or maybe for the 7th or 8th time. And one of these days, they're going to see one of my videos or one of your videos, and they're going to go, keto carnivore. I haven't tried that yet. I think I'll give that a try. And that's when they'll start to actually lose weight in a sustainable, delicious way and never have to sign up for stupid Weight Watchers again.
Yes, absolutely. And speaking of your videos and my videos, it's all about the keto diet, carnivore diet. So we are focusing on lowering the carbs, right? If not, zero carbs. With carnivore diet, at least what I experience, the higher fat, the better. And I am at a weight where I just feel very happy about. But what about this question where I get asked a lot? What if I have so much weight to lose, so much fat that I want to decrease? Does that mean I should limit the animal fats?
I think for the majority of people who are overweight, obese, or morbidly obese, the answer is no. Eating fat will not make you fat. And in the majority of my patients and people I interact with online, eating lots of healthy fat in your diet will not slow down or stop your weight loss. For most people, it tends to speed it up. And I think it's because we get confused because, fat rhymes with fat. And so if you're eating fat, surely to God, that's going to make you fat, or at least slow down weight loss. I mean, how can you eat fat and hope to lose fat? But that's not how the human body works. The human body is an open system that operates on hormones and neurotransmitters. That's how we operate, right? And so really the strength of a diet, if you're trying to lose weight, you've got to modulate your hormones. One of the most important hormones is insulin. But also we're talking about glucagon, somatostatin, and then all your neurotransmitters. And then also you're probably tweaking your gut microbiome. And all these things, you're going to move them in the correct direction for sustainable weight loss when you eat a very, very low carbohydrate diet. The majority of people I work with, they do best when it comes to weight loss on a high fat, moderate protein, very, very low carbohydrate diet. That's the sweet spot that moves all of your hormones in the right direction. And when I say all of your hormones, I'm talking about every single one of your hormones that we looked at, from insulin to your satiety hormones, to your hunger hormones, to your human growth hormone, to testosterone, which is important for both men and women, not just men only. but all of your hormones move in the right direction, which means they move back towards a good, healthy normal. The human body wants to be at a healthy weight by default. That's where because your body is a self-healing, self-cleaning oven. If you eat a proper human diet, then your hormones are just going to move back to where they should be. And with that hormone shift comes noticeable, sustainable fat loss. And when we say we want to lose weight, what we really mean is we want to lose fat, right? Nobody wants to lose muscle mass.
Yes.
Nobody wants to lose bone density. Nobody wants for their cartilage and their tendons and all that stuff. They don't want that to get weaker. They want all that stuff to stay strong and vigorous and vibrant. What they really mean is I want to lose some of this damn fat. The visceral fat, which is very, very medically dangerous to have too much of, but most of us, we mean I want to lose all this subcutaneous fat that's on my butt, on my thighs, on the, under my arms, all the places where people want to lose fat. That's what they mean when they say they want to lose weight. And so if you want to lose weight, you can come to my house. I'll lock you in my barn and I'll calorie restrict you, and you'll definitely lose weight. There's no doubt. But I'll have to lock you in my barn, because if I don't, at some point, your hunger, which is a perfectly natural, normal, healthy thing. Hunger is not the enemy. Hunger is good. Hunger tells you when you need nutrition. But if you're eating a high carbohydrate diet, even if you're calorie restricting, at some point, your hunger hormones are going to hit you so hard. It's just like if you held your breath and I said, hey, hold your breath for 5 minutes. You would try. And then if you could only hold it for 2.5 minutes, I would say, well, you're just a weak glutton. You're just a sloth. You failed. You don't really want to lose weight, or you'd hold your breath for 5 minutes. What? No, that has nothing to do with it. When you eat a proper human diet, which is very, very low carbohydrate by definition, you start to burn your own fats, even if you're eating lots of fat in your diet. Now, there seems to be a subset of people in the keto and carnivore community that seem to do better on a higher protein, moderate fat, yet still very, very low carbohydrate diet. But the majority of people I work with, high fat, moderate protein, very, very low carb. That's the sweet spot where you're just going to lose weight without really trying. Because as you know, I watched your, 23 egg mukbang.
Yes.
When you're eating a proper human diet, you don't have to portion control or calorie restrict. You don't have to count calories. You don't have to do any of that. You just eat real human food until you're completely stuffed. That's the natural way you do it. Every animal in the wild, in the world, do they portion control or calorie restrict? How are they all just naturally lean? The only animals in the wild that you'll see that are obese is if they have access to human food. Human junk food in a garbage dump, or they're getting in your garbage can in the middle of the night. You might see an obese raccoon or an obese coyote if they have access to improper human food. But if they're eating their natural diet in the wild, when they're ravenous, they eat as much as they can possibly hold, then they go take a nap. Yet they're still very lean. And human beings, we are in the wild, even though it seems like we're not. This is our current wilderness. We get to create it ourselves because we're the apex species. But when you eat a proper human diet in our wilderness, your body set point goes back to normal. And so if you're holding extra fat, you're going to burn off the extra fat. Even if you're eating to satiety or eating until you're comfortably stuffed, you're still going to burn the fat off.
It makes too much sense to even question. It's so clear-cut and understandable. But yet I'm pretty sure there are some viewers who are thinking, but I'm an anomaly, right? But I have thyroid issues, but I don't have my period. Or I'm diabetic and there's no way to heal. So with those who have a lot to heal first, would you still recommend just eating when hungry and eating as much animal fats as they desire?
Absolutely. It is, as long as you meet the criteria for being a human being. If you are Homo sapiens sapien, then you should eat a proper human diet, which consists of lots of fatty meat, plus or minus some veg, until you're comfortably stuffed. It is literally that simple. And there are a lot of diabetics will say, well, my doctor told me that if I eat too much red meat, that could actually make my diabetes worse. That's pure foolishness. Or if I eat too much fat, it could clog my cholesterol. Again, just pure foolishness. It's a myth that's never been proven by any meaningful research. And a lot of these people, they don't realize what they're saying. They're like, oh, keto's dangerous, carnivore's dangerous. There's no long-term research showing that it's safe. Mm-hmm. And what I typically ask these people is, okay, well, show me the long-term research showing that the Weight Watchers diet is safe. Yeah. And it's you can see the light bulb go on. They're like, oh, I've never thought about it that way. I don't guess there is any, is there? I'm like, hell no, there's none. Mm-hmm. Show me the long-term research showing that the American Diabetes Association diet is safe for long-term consumption in humans. Show me that. Mm-hmm. Does it exist? No, there's no research showing that the ADA diet is safe for diabetics. Yeah. And you're like, what? How's that even possible? Why are they recommending it? And why are they publishing articles saying keto's dangerous or carnivore is stupid when there's no research long-term showing that their diet is safe? Mm-hmm. And so then you start going down the rabbit hole of, well, God, what is the quality of the average nutrition research study? It's abysmal. It's really terrible currently. And hopefully that's going to be improving because, more people in the keto and carnivore community are starting to call out these big popular research studies that get talked about in all the corporate media. Yeah. We're like, whoa, your research is crap. And nobody's ever thought to question them. They're like, oh no, plant-based is best. I mean, everybody knows that. They said it at Harvard. So it's got to be true. It's like, there's not a single long-term study in humans showing that a plant-based diet is the optimal diet or that it's even safe. There's never been a control study done on that. So now you're back to, okay, so there's no research showing any diet safe. That's correct. So now, do you want to lose weight or do you not? Because if you really want to lose weight, don't sign up for Weight Watchers again. Don't try the current fad, which is a plant-based or a vegan diet. Don't do that because first of all, you're going to have to eat 5, 6, 7 times a day. How many times a day did you eat when you were a vegan?
Oh, 5, 6, 7 times a day.
Yeah, exactly. And you have to because the foods that you're eating are so void of nutrients that your hunger's constant because you're not getting enough nutrition. But when you start eating nutrient-dense things like egg yolks, like fatty cuts of ruminant meat, which is beef, sheep, goat, elk, bison, moose, any ruminant animal, that when you eat the fatty meat of that animal, you're getting so much nutrition that you actually trigger your satiety hormones. And you've probably noticed that in your journey. Back when you were vegan, eating 7 times a day, you're still hungry. You just didn't have enough hours in the day to eat anymore because you were trying to live a life. Now, as a carnivore, do you eat once or twice a day?
Yes, I eat once, sometimes not even. I do 48
exactly.
now.
Exactly. But yet you're sitting there right now looking beautiful and you're not hungry. You're alert, you're 100% on, everything's perfect, and you're not hungry. And I think that the average person who's overweight, they don't understand that there is such a thing as not being hungry because they think they have to starve themselves. They think that's the solution. And it's not the solution. You might lose 20 pounds in a month or two, but it is not sustainable long-term because what you are doing is you are trying to do a semi-starvation diet for the rest of your life. And that's not possible. That's like holding your breath for 10 minutes. You cannot do that. It is impossible. You will die. And if you try to starve yourself for the rest of your life, you're going to fail. And that doesn't mean that you are a failure. Mm-hmm. It means that the diet strategy that you were tricked into choosing, that's what failed. Calorie restriction fails every time because it's a semi-starvation diet.
Yes, it's just not sustainable. So now I just can't not bring up the viewers who are trying to heal from an eating disorder, who literally feel like they can't stop eating, especially now that they're carnivore. And these are the audience members that I really want to help the most because that's what I healed when I first went carnivore, was that binge eating disorder. So a lot of the times in your videos you say, eat till comfortably stuffed, eat till comfortably full. But what if someone doesn't even know what it means or feels like to be that?
When you start eating a proper human diet, it still might take you a month or two to kind of make that connection, the brain-gut connection, because you've been so hungry for so long, for so many years. Yeah. And I'm not up to date on all of the eating disorder literature. That's not my forte, but I have never, ever seen as many positive testimonials about people who have recovered from eating disorders. than with keto and carnivore testimonials, or Ketovore, which is right between. People are like, dude, I had an eating disorder for 25 years, and I went keto, I went Ketovore, I went carnivore, and all of a sudden, it took me a few months, like I said, but then all of a sudden I'm like, oh, that's weird. I'm not, awesome, but weird, because I'm not used to that. And I think when you're eating an improper human diet, full of sugar, full of processed grains, full of vegetable seed oils, your body is so inflamed and your brain is so inflamed.
Yeah.
And you're so malnourished because you're eating all these carbohydrates, but they're empty carbohydrates because they don't contain any nutrients that you need. Your body and your brain are just completely confused. They don't know what the hell's going on because you're feeding it this simulacra of food, but it's not really food. And so you've got this ancient body. Our DNA has been in its current form for at least 300,000 years. Mm-hmm. So you've got this ancient DNA that has not evolved to eat cardboard, right? We haven't evolved to be able to do that. We can't do that. And so some few of us have evolved that we can actually break down lactose in milk and drink. So we, about a third of us, a quarter of us on the planet, we've evolved enough that we can do that. But when you're trying to eat the rice cakes and you're trying to eat all this stuff and think, well, that's the best way because it's low calorie. Yeah. You're just eating a bunch of carbohydrates that are devoid of nutrients. How can you not expect that to trick your body and your mind? How can you expect that not to confuse your hunger center in your brain? Of course, it's going to confuse it. Many people are able to limp by and not develop a true diagnosable eating disorder by eating the standard American crap diet. But many people, based on many factors, they fall into an eating disorder because they're not eating real human food.
Yeah. So would you say that with time and patience and enough just consistency to carnivore or ketovore or keto, the hunger signals will be clearer and clearer for this person?
I think that they get clearer as the months go by. Now, I fully am aware that there are many other traumas that can lead to an eating disorder. Of course, there's no doubt about that. But I don't think it's just the trauma. I don't think it's just the whatever drama or trauma you had in your past. I think it's that, plus the fact that you're eating nutrient void pseudo food, which is confusing your brain, your body. It's confusing your hormone pathways because you're getting all these carbs, but yet there's no nutrition in there. So your body's like, I guess that was food, but I'm not sure. One of the keystones in the development of an eating disorder that becomes a permanent diagnosable eating disorder is you got to be eating crap food. And when I say crap food, I don't just mean Cheetos and Pepsi, okay? You could be eating a plant-based vegan diet full of whole grains. And I think you absolutely can develop an eating disorder on that kind of a diet because it's nutrient void. It's just, you have to eat 7-8 times a day. And first of all, in my opinion, having to eat more than 3 times a day on any diet model, that's a setup for an eating disorder. If you're having to eat more than 3 times a day to get your nutrition, that's not normal. That's not, that in no way does that mimic the way our ancestors ate in the past.
That's fascinating. And that's precisely what happened to me when I went vegan for 6 years. So it totally messed up how I thought and treated food. And I definitely built a very bad eating disorder, just a lot of bad habits, including binging. So when I went carnivore, I was able to heal all of that. But I would say within 6 months of just eating whenever hungry, just really feasting, like there's just no tomorrow, right? And I naturally have a big appetite. So you mentioned one should not need to eat more than 2 to 3 times a day. So now I have to ask, what are your thoughts towards fasting?
Well, I love fasting. I think it's very powerful. Before we talk about that, I want to ask you a question.
Yeah.
How terrified were you when you first started your carnivore journey? And you would get that ravenous hunger, that's normal to have ravenous hunger. But I think with an eating disorder, I would guess that you fear that feeling and you dread that feeling and you try to fight that feeling with everything that's in you. At what point did you just give into that and say, screw it, I'm going to eat until I cannot eat another bite, but I'm only going to do it with meat?
Such a great question. I chose purposely to go carnivore January 1st of 2019. And that decision was because I linked it with the decision to just let go, to do exactly what you said, to just not care. Even though in the back of my mind, that voice was always there saying, you're gaining weight, your clothes are getting tighter, you're gonna get fat, and you'll never stop gaining weight, right? But I kept fighting that. And honestly, with time, that voice went away. It was easier to say no to that voice because of the food that I was eating. I just felt so good. So good.
That's awesome. And I suspect that that's what everybody with an eating disorder, when they go to keto or carnivore, I suspect, I've never had an eating disorder, but I would suspect you would be just terrified of like, oh my God, I'm going to overeat this and it's so full of fat. I'm just going to I won't even be able to walk through the front door anymore. I'm going to get so fat. Yeah. And all the voices in your head and all the things that you've told yourself and all of the stupid advice you've been given by other people who didn't know better. It's got to be terrifying there for a minute until you finally just give up and let go. And I think it's important for people with eating disorders to realize, what if I just told you, you know what, let go and just, if you breathe, don't even think about breathing. Just let your body do it. And I mean, that makes perfect sense. You're like, well, no, duh, I do that every day. Yeah, I don't even think about breathing. I don't count how many times a day I breathe. I don't measure my respiratory volume, how many cubic centimeters of air. I don't measure any of that crap. I just do it, right? That's exactly how your body's built to behave around food. You literally are built to operate that same way with food as you are with air. You don't even have to think about it if you're eating a proper human diet. You just get to do it. And it's awesome. It's like, oh, this is effortless. I just get to eat when I'm hungry. And if I'm not hungry, I don't eat. Boom. Problem solved.
Yeah, it just almost sounds too good to be true, but we are both telling you guys it is possible and it is the truth. All you need, I think the key is just that consistency and patience. And those two are kind of the most difficult for those who are so new to this diet.
And I would add one more.
Yeah.
Trust your body. Trust your body. Trust your body. When you start putting the proper food in it, your body doesn't need your help. It's just like with breathing. It doesn't need your help. It doesn't need your input. It doesn't need you to worry about it all day long. It doesn't need you to try to put off breathing. It just needs you to shut up, let go, and breathe. In the same respect, it just needs you to choose a proper human diet, number one. Then number two, shut up, let go, and eat. Yeah, it's literally that simple if you're eating a proper human diet.
Beautifully said. So now let's go to fasting. So your thoughts on fasting?
Yes, fasting. So when I started keto, it's been 7-8 years ago. I didn't know about fasting. I had not read any of the literature about fasting. I didn't know the power of fasting. But what happened with me is I just naturally started fasting for longer every day. And so I was raised 3 square meals, and you didn't leave my grandmother's house without eating breakfast. You get a spanking for that. Like, you're going to eat some breakfast, which would include some biscuits and some hash browns and some syrup and some jelly. You're going to eat that. That's not an option. You got to eat before you go to school. And so, but then when I started a high fat keto, I would wake up in the morning and not be hungry at all. And one day I was late to get to the office. I'm like, screw it. I'm not hungry. I'm just not going to eat. And before I knew it, that had become a habit. It was just like a thoughtless habit. I stopped eating breakfast. And so I was naturally fasting for 18 hours a day, 20 hours a day, not even trying. It literally came effortlessly and without any conscious effort whatsoever, because I was eating nutrient-dense food. It's very high in protein, very high in fat, right? And so when you do those 3 things and eat till you're full, you don't need to eat every 2 or 4 hours. You stop having that need, that drive, that pull. Oh my God. Because back before keto, I was the ultimate snacker. Like, I would eat humongous meals 3 times a day and was constantly snacking in between. And so I kind of came to keto through paleo. I started paleo. And so I had all the nuts, I had all the berries, I had all the paleo friendly things. And I would just snack all day long. I would go see a patient, come back and have a little 10-second snack. Go see a patient, have a little 10-second snack. Wow. But once I had went keto, I stopped replenishing my snack supplies. I would have snacks everywhere all the time when I was paleo, and definitely before paleo. But with keto, my snack supplies dwindled and I didn't replenish. I had no desire. I didn't even think about snacking anymore. So I was able to be more productive. I felt better, more mentally alert, and got more stuff done in the day because I wasn't spending an extra hour and a half a day eating, but also my brain was still being fueled. And I didn't know at the time because I was still learning about keto. My brain was being fueled by the fat that I was burning off my big fat belly and my big fat butt. I was burning that fat, and my brain was loving the ketones that produced. And so that's how I kind of started this. But snacking becomes a non-issue. Once you're eating enough fat and protein, you just lose the desire to snack.
So nowadays you do, I'm guessing, OMAD, right? 1 meal a day?
1 or 2 meals a day. It just depends. Okay. Yeah, it depends on what the family's up to. It depends on if I slept well the night before, because if I had to get up early or I stayed up late, my cortisol is going to be higher. I'm going to be more hungry. And so on those days I might eat 2 meals, but even then it's in a 4-hour feasting window. I love that you use the word feast because I think that's exactly how you should phrase it. And so in my feasting windows, 4 to 6 hours on the worst day, but many days I'll just eat one huge meal a day filled with fatty meat and eggs, and that's my meal, and then I'm done.
Hopefully all of the viewers who watch this video have gotten tons and tons of information and help from Dr. Barry. I usually like to ask my guest one last message to really instill inspiration and hope that the viewer can get better, they can reach their weight loss goals. So what would you like to relay? Oh,
I would love to tell everybody, your body is not broken. Your brain is not broken. There is nothing wrong with you. The problem is the food that you've been tricked into eating. The problem is the diet that you've been fooled into thinking is the healthy diet. When you break through that, when you shift your paradigm and say, no, what did humans eat 100,000 years ago? I want to know. And I can tell you guys, you don't have to do the paleoanthropology research I've done. It was fatty meat as much as they could get their hands on. That's what they ate. So that's the message. You're not broken. There's nothing wrong with you. You're not sinful. You're not evil. You're not weak. You're not lazy. None of that stuff that you've told yourself for years, maybe decades, none of that stuff is true. It's the diet that you've been eating. It's the food, the pseudo food, the simulacra food that you thought was real food. Mm-hmm. That's what's messing everything up. And when you take that crap out of the equation, all of a sudden your brain and your gut, they start communicating with each other and they start giving you feedback. Hey, you're truly hungry. You should eat real food. And then all of a sudden you get this other signal after you've been eating. Hey, you're satiated. You're completely full. You need to stop eating. And then if you've eaten enough protein and fat, you're not going to think about food again for many, many hours. It's that simple. I promise you. And once again, I want to say it. You're not broken. There's nothing bad about you. There's nothing wrong with you. Beckett wants some bacon.
I will let you go, Dr. Barry, and thank you so much from the bottom of my heart for giving all of us the time to share your knowledge. Everybody, please go order Dr. Barry's book, Lies My Doctor Told Me. And yes, and also join Dr. Barry and Nisha every Monday, right? Live stream.
Monday at 7 p.m. Central on YouTube and Facebook. We do a live every Monday night.
Amazing. Dr. Barry, thank you so much.
Thank you so much. Good to see you again.
You too.